Last season in the Allsvenska, we were crowned the champions of Sweden for the 4th successive season, and if you look at the past winners, it is our 6th win in the last 7 seasons. We have 2 seasons left to play of this Building a Nation save. It's not going to end after 25 seasons. We are going to kind of jump forward to some point in the future as well to see what effects our changes and our kind of development of Sweden have made. But yes, we've got 2 more seasons left. Both of them should be in charge of Norrköping unless we get fired. And we want to be winning 6 in a row and 8 in the last 9. That is the goal. I would say this season as well, it would be nice to see how far we can get in the Champions League. The problem is, last season technically, we had played 6 Champions League games and we were outside of the playoffs, and we have played the final 2 Champions League games and we are still outside the playoffs because we lost both of them against Chelsea and Borussia Dortmund. It means that we are out of Europe already. This is a bit strange because we don't often fall out of Europe just yet. Normally, what we do is we get to this round, and this is where we fail. And I think because we got knocked out of Europe, I didn't do this, by the way. My assistant or whoever decided to set up a friendly cup against AGF of, I'm going to say Denmark. It is Denmark, isn't it? SV Ried of Austria and Slovan Liberec of Czechia. So, yeah, for some reason we did this. And we also won the thing 2-0 in the final against Ried. So being the 1st of February, the transfer window is open. We have already done some transfer business. In fact, 2 players left in December because technically that was when they were allowed to move. I don't know why, because technically it wasn't within a transfer window, but they've left anyway. And they were both out on loan last season, which I think might have been why they were allowed to move in December. It is Barantes. He has moved over to Helsingborg on a permanent deal for £800,000. So he's returned back to the club we brought him from, and we only paid £550,000. Saying that, we signed him from Djurgården. He was on loan at Helsingborg. And speaking of Djurgårdens, Malangu has moved over to Djurgårdens on a permanent deal for £600,000. Once again, similar deal. He was out on loan, and they've made that deal permanent. We've made a massive profit on a player who only played 5 times for us, and also, they've only played him 10 times. There is one more transfer that has happened, and it's kind of annoying. John Carlson has moved over to Italy, signing for AC Milan on a free transfer because his contract expired and he would not accept signing a new one. It's frustrating because if Milan wanted him, there is clearly some potential there. He's also got 2 caps for Sweden, although I have a feeling I might have been the Sweden manager when he got those caps. Maybe not. Maybe? No, surely not. No, we weren't in charge then at all. Anyway, like I was saying, John Carlson moving over to Milan on a free transfer. It's kind of annoying, but I guess in a way it's good because we know we've got a decent Swedish footballer for the next maybe 10 or so years who can hopefully do well when it comes to actually playing matches for the Sweden national side. We've got a whopping £17.7 million transfer budget to spend. I don't know what we're going to do this season. I feel like one season, maybe this season, maybe next season, we are going to go big and spend all of our money, and we're probably going to do installments and all sorts of things. We're going to spend £100 million in a transfer window. I'm not convinced it's going to be this one, but we will jump forward and find out. We've brought in 3 players to the club. We've not gone big, but we have spent quite a lot of money. 10.75 or nearly £11 million is actually what we have spent. We've brought in 3 players. Martin Pacheco is a 27-year-old Mexican midfielder and right back. I've brought him in to actually be a right back to kind of add a little bit more depth in that position. He is signed from Pumas on a free transfer. I think this is just a sensible bit of business. He's a good player, and also, if he doesn't make it playing for us, we can hopefully keep him in Sweden and move him to somebody else. For £825,000, we have done kind of what I've just said, but not really. We have signed Guillermo Echeverria, might be his name, a 23-year-old Spanish goalkeeper signed from Bilbao. He's cost just under £1 million, and we've immediately loaned him out to Mjällby. I don't know whether he's going to be any good in the future. I've brought him in because I feel like some other teams in Sweden need to get some slightly better players, and Mjällby have managed to pick up Echeverria, whatever his name is, this guy, Dave, on a loan deal until the end of the season. And the final transfer joining the club involves Ishikawa moving over to Mjällby as part of a part exchange deal. Now, I've tried to do this as often as I can. I think I've done it 3 times. But Ishikawa has moved over to Mjällby because basically I have brought in Mjällby's best player, and it is a player that we had, and in fact I believe we might have even signed when we were in charge of Mjällby. And that is Delan Gaynor, who is a 26-year-old Jamaican international with 90 caps and 38 goals to his name. He's cost £10 million. It's a huge amount of money, but I think he's really good. He's 26, so he's this is roughly his peak. I think he could get better. I don't know what it is. There's something telling me that he could get a bit better. He's played a lot of football for Mjällby, 188 games, scoring just 57 goals. I think we're probably going to deploy him on the right-hand side, maybe as a striker if we need him to, but I basically wanted to try and disperse some money to some other teams in Sweden and also strengthen our side a little bit. So Gaynor is the man to do that. £10 million is probably a bit too steep. 3 players have left the club on permanent deals and also a whole bunch of loans. Kayuma, first up, leaving the club, signing for AIK. He has gone for a whopping £110,000. We've taken a big hit on him, but we never actually played him, so it's kind of okay that he's staying in Sweden. Foppamaveng has moved over to Helsingborg for £575,000. Similar situation, really. We brought him into the club. Actually, we didn't pay any money for him, but he spent a whole bunch of seasons out on loan at various teams. And then he's gone for a reasonably large fee. He did play 26 times in the Allsvenska last season, so he's actually probably of that level. And hopefully going to Helsingborg means he is going to get some game time and actually turn into a half-decent footballer. And finally, for 1.3, possibly going up to 1.4 million, it is Togali's central defender and midfielder. Gazozo, he has signed for Djurgårdens, and a similar situation once again. Spent a last season, or maybe the season before, actually out on loan at BK Häcken in the Allsvenska, playing a lot of football. He's been slowly working his way up the leagues, actually getting a bit of game time for us last year as well, 9 times off the bench, but we just weren't going to play him. Djurgårdens probably, hopefully will play him. £1.3 million is arguably a bit cheap, but it's fine. We're strengthening other teams in Sweden. It's something that we probably should have done about 15 years ago. Speaking of strengthening other teams in Sweden, we're going to do quick fire loan deals though. Fajardo has moved over to Norrköping. Bikoro has moved over to Malmo. Hansen has gone back on loan to Norrby. Bentancur has gone on loan to Degerfors. We've already mentioned Echeverria. He's gone on loan to Mjällby. This man's gone somewhere for some reason. Larsen's gone on loan to Falkenbergs, hopefully one for the future. And Bromos Poshkana have picked up Paolo Vanni and Jose Wasame. So we've loaned out a whole bunch of players. Some of these might actually make it into permanent deals. I don't think there's too many. It might be somebody like a Bikoro might have a permanent deal in there, but they're paying £900,000 for that loan deal, which is utterly ridiculous. Financially, we're obviously still in a good way. In fact, our transfer budget has increased from where we last were, so we've now got £21.5 million to spend. Maybe in the summer we do a nice big expenditure. Maybe we spend a whole bunch of money, bring in some players that will hopefully make our team better. Speaking of our team, we are going to be reverting back to the 4-2-3-1 Black Panther formation. We are keeping it here. This is the one we obviously played last season. It didn't do well enough in the Champions League. I feel like we were doing better with this formation than the broken one. So we're going to stick with this one. And you'll notice we are locking in 2 players. First of all, Opong is going to be locked in as our left back for this season. Last season, he didn't play a huge amount because we locked in the other left back, who I've already forgotten his name. What was his name? Norman Burgess, that's it. So Burgess played last season for the whole year as that left back. This time around, it's going to be Opong playing as our left back. And on the right-hand side, we have 20-year-old Emil Eriksson, who's going to be our number 1 right back for the season. We need to start developing some Swedish footballers. Eriksson looks pretty good now, also a bit of potential for the future. I will show you, he's probably one of our best right backs. We've got Bergman, but Bergman, if we take a look, he's 33. Do we still need a 33-year-old playing as our right back for the season? Probably not. Rosman's a centre-back. Pacheco, we've just signed. Told you I brought him in to be somewhat of a backup, which is kind of why, when you look at it, most of these are centre-backs. Eriksson's the next best right-back, so he's going to play for a full season and hopefully turn into a very good right-back. Last thing to mention before we kick off the season is we have obviously made it to the Swedish Cup final once again for the 93rd time or something like that. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th time in 8 seasons. And we are up against Helsingborg, a team that have beaten us previously in the past. So hopefully this time we can get one over our former side and make it 5 Swedish Cups. That's what they're called, 5 Swedish Cups in the last 8. Still not particularly good numbers, is it? So we are now at the start of July, but on the 12th of May, we did manage to beat our former side, Helsingborg, 4-0 in the final. Goals from Galvantino, Gaynor, Villa and Gonzalez with the goals in the match, meaning we absolutely battered them, and we did win the Swedish Cup once again. And when it comes to the Allsvenska, we are currently joint top with Helsingborg. Both of us have won 10, drawn 1 and lost 1. I'm assuming we've drawn with each other. No, we haven't. We've drawn with Landskrona, who are down in 12th. Not ideal. And we've lost against Djurgårdens, who are currently in 5th. Helsingborg have drawn with Malmo in 4th and lost against us. I've just seen the top goal scorer in the Swedish league as well at the moment is Peter Eriksson, a player who I'm pretty sure I intentionally did this. I got rid of him because I thought we're not playing him. He's moved over to Varbergs and now Kalmar, and he's actually scoring a lot of goals, so fair play. Anyway, transfer window is open, £27 million worth of transfer budget to spend. As of yet, we have not brought anybody to the club. However, we have sold Juventino Osorio. He has moved back to Mexico, signing for Leon. Basically, he was kind of playing, but not as much this season. He's starting to kind of move towards the more like rotation squad player level for 2 million, possibly going up to 2.5. It's okay. I really wanted to keep him in Sweden, but nobody in Sweden wanted him. And I thought, you know what? Let's just take a bit of money and we can reinvest that. And a couple months later, we have reinvested the Osorio money. He's currently played 3 games for Leon in the Mexican League. But what have we done? We've brought in a whole host of players from various places around the world for varying prices. I think we spent about £25 million as well over the summer transfer window. Edgar Ribeiro, first up, a Brazilian attacking midfielder, right winger who has signed from Gremio. He's cost, I think, £19,000. Yeah, £19,000. He's gone on loan to Norby. Definitely one for the future, but also one for not our future. Basically, the plan is just get him in Sweden and then hopefully sell him to somebody else in Sweden. Similar situation is Jamal Dukar, who is a Senegalese central midfielder and defender. 4 caps as well to his name, signed from Casa Sports, immediately going out on loan to Varbergs, and he has cost the same amount at £19,000. Moving up in value, we have signed Argentine striker Nicolas Bustamante, which I believe is a great name. I don't know why, I just feel that's a good name. It's cost £425,000. Gone out on loan to Varbergs. Definitely, again, a player that we're not necessarily going to get the use out of, but playing for somebody else in Sweden, hopefully he's going to develop himself and them and maybe propel them into the Champions League. And we're not done with buying players on relatively cheap deals and then immediately loaning them out. Kieran Reddy is next up, signed from Manchester United, gone out on loan to Hamby. He's cost £725,000. And basically, I think he's actually quite good. My coaches and things sort of thought that he should be good enough to play for us at times, which, fair enough. And the last player to join, who is a player who is going to be basically playing for somebody else, in theory, is Clement Busser, an 18-year-old French central midfielder signed from Monaco. He's cost, I believe, £1.1 million. Not a huge amount of money. Definitely one for the future, like I said. Looking at his numbers, basically, I looked at the mentals and went, they were all right. He's got some reasonable first touches and stuff like that as well. So let's bring him in. We've got money to spend, so I'm not too fussed about wasting a bit of cash. If he turns out to be an average footballer, he can play for a Mjällby or a Varbergs or a Kalmar or somebody like that and hopefully do a job for them over the next probably 20 years. 20 years, he's not going to retire when he's 38. He might retire when he's 38. It's not just players, though, that we've brought for other teams, although technically this one we have. It is Germod Ilhen Hansen? Sure, that's his name. A Norwegian international goalkeeper with 1 cap to his name, signed from Molde and immediately sent back on loan to Molde. I didn't want to bring him into the club and then try and loan him out to Sweden just in case nobody took him. So I thought, you know what, play for the rest of the season for Molde. They're in the Champions League, so he's going to be playing at a decent level of football. He has cost a lot of money. He's cost £7 million, possibly going up to £8 million, but I think he is going to be a superb goalkeeper for us in maybe 1 or 2 seasons. He might be our number 1 next season. We don't know. And I'm not sure whether this is our most expensive signing. I feel like it probably is, but £13 million has brought us Roland Adlon, who's a 23-year-old Austrian left winger with just 1 cap to his name, signed from RB Salzburg. And I basically went, you know what? Every transfer window, I'm not necessarily sticking to this because there's only 3 left, or 2 left now, technically. I'm going to buy 1 player who's just really, really good for the position that we play, and I'm not really too fussed about how much money he's going to cost. Adlon is apparently only a 3-star current ability player, but we play an inside forward on attack, and he's got all the numbers in the right places, so I'm kind of okay with this. It's only passing and finishing that kind of lets him down, but he's still on 12s. That's fine. Yes, he has cost £13 million, which is arguably a little bit on the steep side, but I think we've got ourselves a very good footballer who's arguably not world class, but he's certainly European class. He's definitely one of the better players in football. It's not just players joining the club, we've also lost a couple of big name players for lots of money. Emil Fozzo, first up, signing for Nice, and he has gone for £10 million. Possibly going up to 11. He's not really played a huge amount. The season when he did play was obviously when we played the broken formation, so he got a bit more goals than perhaps he's maybe too good to get. Mentally, he's really good, but I just don't think he's improved over the last couple of seasons. I feel like this is his peak, and £10 million is a lot of money. Another player to leave already is Martin Pacheco. He's moved over to Feyenoord because he was getting annoyed that he wasn't really playing. I think he came off the bench most times. Yeah, 2 starts, 10 off the bench. We sold him for 9.75, possibly rising to £12 million. It's a free transfer who was here for 6 months, and we've made a £12 million profit, which is just ridiculous. And I'm kind of okay with that. We've also sold Christopher Dolk to Bomas Pochkana for literal pennies, £57,000. He was out of contract at the end of the season. And basically, they went, we will take him. They agreed a deal to sign him. And I went, just take him for any money. I didn't really care what it was because he wasn't really playing for us. He's going to go there, get some game time. And that's fine by me. And as always, we have loaned out a bunch of people. But I think we've kind of mentioned most of them. It is only really Ali Person, who has gone out on loan, who we didn't mention before. He's gone to Varnamo. So we've also got Hansen going out on loan to Mulder. We've got Reddy, we know, to Hammarby. Ribeiro to Norby. We've got Bustamante and Decor going to Varbo. So yeah, everyone else is actually new players who've joined the club and then immediately gone out on loan. So obviously we have played some matches in between the transfer window as well. We are still top of the table, but we now actually have a little bit of clearance. 5 points clear of Helsingborg in second, and that is because they've lost a few more matches. They've drawn actually 3, all of them at 0-0. Osters, AIK and Malmo. They've lost twice against Västerås. 9th place Västerås. Västerås seem to be a lot higher than I expected them to be, but fair enough. We've obviously drawn one additional match up against AIK, so AIK have managed to draw 0-0 with both teams at the top of the table and still find themselves down in 10th. Just taking a quick look at the squad as well, we've got Opong still playing as our left back. He's got 8 assists so far this season. Right back of Eriksson, he's looking pretty good. 10 assists for Eriksson and a goal to his name. Numbers going in the right direction. You'll also notice that I have locked in Julius Brown as well on that right-hand side. Basically, he was out of contract and he wouldn't sign a new one because he wasn't playing football. So I went, you know what, we'll lock you in for a little bit more game time. And he seems to be happy enough. So happy, in fact, he does have a brand new deal. We've also got, I've just sorted this by goals, Via, Dembaya, Kovacevic all on 15. We've got Brown on 14. Gaynor, who isn't locked in. Why have you been playing? I mean, you have been playing, so you're coming off on at half-time mostly, maybe sometimes in the second half, on the right wing. Possibly we need to lock in Gaynor, because he's going to get annoyed. He already is annoyed. Might be a bit too late. Anyway, I am hoping for a much better time in the Champions League this season. We have Real Sociedad, we have Copenhagen, we have Sporting, Barcelona, AC Milan, Maccabi Haifa, and then in the start of next season, Man City and RB Leipzig. It's not easy. It's certainly not easy. And very quickly, before we jump to the end of the season, this is the situation for the coefficients for last year. So we picked up 13.7 points worth of coefficients, which is not good. We are currently 8th place. If everything stays the same as it is, we are actually moving up to 7th. If everything stays the same, we move up to 7th. That's because France aren't having a particularly good year. 7th place means not a huge difference. 6th place suddenly gets real interesting. If we have a good year in Europe, and not just us, obviously, all the other teams from Sweden as well, if we have a good year in Europe, we could be getting 2 or even 3 teams directly into the Champions League. How far? I mean, 5th, we're all pretty close. We are all pretty close. We could get 5th. We just have to do much better than Portugal, France, Netherlands, and Turkey, and Greece are probably too far away. In fact, Turkey are probably too far away. So it's possible. It's possible. Let's jump forward, see how well things go. Are we going to win the league for the 29th time in a row? How well are we going to get on as well in Europe? First of all, then, on the 12th of December, we are crowned champions. In fact, we're not on the 12th of December. We were crowned champions a very long time ago because we won the league by 19 points in the end. 104 goals scored, just 31 conceded. Only one defeat, only one more draw, which was a 6. Was it 1 more or 2 more draws? I think we drew with Hammarby and then a 6-6 draw with Kalmar. That's ridiculous. But the huge news is so far after 6 Champions League games, we are currently sat 2nd place in the table. We've lost once against AC Milan, which means we have beaten Maccabi Haifa, Barcelona, Sporting, Copenhagen, and Real Sociedad. We are arguably going to be going through in the top 8 at this rate. We've obviously got 2 more matches to play, which, if I remember correctly, was Man City and it was an RB Leipzig, possibly. So City's obviously going to be tough. Leipzig, maybe we can win. I mean, we've beaten Barcelona. If you beat Barcelona, arguably, you could beat most teams in the world, can't you? I do just want to have a look to see what that's done to our coefficient. So already, we're on an 8.2, which means if we sort by next season, that's not what we want to see. Sort by next season, and then we press this. So currently we are sat between Netherlands and France. We will move up to 7th place. So still not a lot of movement, but I imagine some of the other teams as well from Sweden are not doing too terribly in Europe. Have we got anyone else in the Champions League? No, we do not. We've got Helsingborg and Malmo in the Europa League. Helsingborg have beaten AEK and Adana, drawn with Basel, and lost against Lazio and Estoril. And then we've got Malmo beating Panathinaikos, 2 draws against Rakow and HJK, and defeats against Dinamo and Bilbao. And then Europa Conference League, I feel like we should have 3 teams here. We've only got 2. Djurgården's a 4th though. 2 wins, Budoknost and Dynamo. I'm not even sure who that is. I can't remember where they're from. Albania, I want to say, for some reason. They've also drawn though. These are not good draws. They've not lost, which is a good thing. And we've got AIK beating Legia, 2 draws against Slavia Prague and CSKA Sofia, and then a defeat against Eupen. Oh, Djurgården's fixtures there seem so much easier, right? Those 4 fixtures are so much easier than what AIK had. Anyway, not that we don't care about what's going on with the other teams in Europe. We obviously need to do well ourselves, and we have started off the campaign very, very strongly. I think we should be good enough to finish between 1st and 8th in this table. 1 win, basically 1 win against City or against Leipzig, and we'll be there. I do just want to have a very quick look at the stats for the team though. So 3 players scoring 20 goals or more. Dumbaya scoring 21. He's got 15 in the league. He's wanted. I'm still contemplating whether we do this. Man City want him. If we can extort them for like 40, 50 million pounds, I might do that. Kovacevic with 23, 18 of them coming in the league. And then we've also got Villa, who scored a lot of goals as well, and 16 of them coming in the league. So lots and lots of goals. Julius Brown as well getting 17, 12 for Adlon. 10 goals for Gainer, but he's only started 4 matches. And then sorting by assists, we've got Kovacevic, we've got Oppong, and we've got Eriksson. So how good has Oppong done? I feel like he's just better, isn't he? He's just better than Burgess. I feel like playing Burgess for a season maybe wasn't the best idea. And then Emil Eriksson playing on the right-hand side, his first real season play for us. He's done very well. 16 assists, 13 of them coming in the league. In fact, 18 assists because 2 of them came in the Swedish Cup last season. So as we're about to enter the final season, we have £40 million to spend. Do we do it? Do we just spend huge amounts of money next season? A next season, by the way, that will see us move into the IFK Norrköping Stadium, which should have been completed by now, but it's been delayed by 2 or 3 months, which means we're not going to move in until the 3rd of March. I believe that means we're basically going to miss half of the Champions League knockout phases. I say half, all of the Champions League knockout phases, because we'll probably get knocked out in the first one, but still, we are not going to play Champions League football in this stadium this season, but we should play the entirety of the actual Swedish Premier Division in the Norrköping Stadium next season, which is a 32,000 capacity stadium, so you never know, next year I might even ask them to expand it.